Boys and girls, it's me again, and I'm here to read you a story. It is called Somebody and the Three Blairs, and I know how much you like this one. So, while I'm reading today, like we've talked about before at school, I'm going to try to do voices like the people or the different characters, how they should sound, and I'm also going to try to express in my voice the feelings of the people. And when you're reading on your own at home, you should try to do that. If there's conversation in your books, it'll help you understand what's happening more. Okay. One Sunday morning in a small house on the edge of town, Mr. Blair, Mrs. Blair, and Baby Blair were sitting down to breakfast. "It's such a fine morning," said Mr. Blair. "Let's take a walk in the park." "What a good idea," said Mrs. Blair. "Feed a ducks," said Baby Blair. So they took their coats and a bag of breadcrumbs and set out for the park. While they were gone, somebody, see the word somebody? It's a capital letter, so that means it's somebody's name. There's somebody. Somebody came to the door. Somebody knocked. And when no one answered, somebody tiptoed in. He sniffed and sniffed. He looked at the breakfast table. "This food is too dry," said somebody. "This food is too noisy," said somebody. "But this food is just right." I think it looks like a jar of honey. He looked for somewhere to sit down. This seat is too hard," said somebody. "This seat is too wobbly," said somebody. "But this seat is just right." He looked for something to play with. "This game is too noisy," said somebody. "This game is too cold." "But this game is just right." He looked for something to drink. "This rain is too hot," said somebody. "This pond is too small," said somebody. "But this stream is just right." He looked for somewhere to sleep. Somebody is kind of reminding me of Goldilocks. You too? "This bed is too big," said somebody. "This bed is too small," said somebody. Look, he's on the shelf with all the towels. "But this bed is just right." He's in Baby Blair's crib, I think. When Mr. Blair and Mrs. Blair and Baby Blair came back from the park, they saw the breakfast table. "Somebody's been eating my crunchies," said Mr. Blair. "Somebody's been eating my Crispies," said Mrs. Blair. "All gone," said Baby Blair. They looked around the room. "Somebody's been sitting in my chair," said Mr. Blair. "Somebody's been sitting in my chair," said Mrs. Blair. "Busted," said Baby Blair. You see Baby Blair's chair? They went to the kitchen. "Somebody's been emptying the cupboard," said Mr. Blair. "Somebody's been raiding the fridge," said Mrs. Blair. "Naughty," said Baby Blair. They went upstairs. "Flood!" shouted Mr. Blair. "Help!" shouted Mrs. Blair. "Lot of water!" shouted Baby Blair. They looked in the bedrooms. "It's a burglar," said Mr. Blair. "It's a monster," said Mrs. Blair. "It's a big teddy bear," said Baby Blair. "It's escaped from the zoo," said Mr. Blair. "It's escaped from the circus," said Mrs. Blair. "It's escaped down a drain pipe," said Baby Blair. "Somebody call the police," said Mr. Blair. "Somebody call the fire department," said Mrs. Blair. "Somebody gone home," said Baby Blair. Come again and play tomorrow. There's somebody, and up in the window is baby Blair. See you tomorrow. Bye. You can come out.
Thank you. I didn't know where you were.
How you doing, lovely?